Hey everyone, it's me, the Storyteller. Now, Corpse Knight has two new issues that I haven't gotten around to read, but just now read, so we're going to go over the story up until those two new issues, and we're going to talk about some things that I feel like might happen in later parts of this story, so let's get into it. We follow the story of a father and daughter in medieval France. Now, we don't actually get names for either of these two characters, and I don't think we're going to get their names until later on in the story. One day, as the father was teaching his daughter how to shoot her bow and arrow, they were attacked by mercenaries and bandits. Though the daughter was able to get away, the father had met an unexpected end, leaving her to take care of the family farm by herself. Though one night the mercenaries and bandits would come back, but they would actually find the daughter praying over her father's grave, and in doing so would somehow resurrect him. But how did this happen? Well, before her father had faced his own demise, he had told her a story about Joan of Arc and how she resurrected an infant that was stillborn from birth. And so, in praying, she also did the same thing with her father, though the situation turned out very differently. So as her undead father came back and took out all the mercenaries and bandits and donned new armor, they set off to go find Joan of Arc to reverse her father's condition. So they traveled and they came across a lot of unpleasant people, as well as some people that did actually help them out, but they also came across some questionable things, such as wolves that looked like they were infected with some type of disease, or maybe something that's very similar to what her father is. But when they fought these undead or infected wolves, they actually got separated, but luckily the local hunters from a nearby village found her father and rescued him, but they also found out that he was a warden and tried to unalive him. Now, the word warden, or at least the title of a warden, has been thrown around in the first two issues, and we don't necessarily know what that is up until around issue 3. And essentially what wardens are essentially Knight Templars that act like witch hunters and inquisitors. So whenever they would find a witch, they would put her to the stake, but at the same time they also put a lot of innocent people to the stake as well. Which is why whenever people see her father's sword, they quickly try to unalive him because he was previously a warden. However, when the hunters did try to unalive him, they quickly found out that doing so was going to be a lot harder than it was. But now we go back to the daughter and her little side adventure where she kind of finds a witch's cabin and finds a little boy that was kind of put in a knapsack. Now, when we see this sorcerer or witch first appear, we don't really know much about them. Even in later issues, we don't really know much about them. The only thing that we do know is that when the little boy and the daughter left the cabin, the daughter took their spell book. So they escaped the sorcerer and they reunited with her father. And now we continue the story to issues 3 and 4. In the beginning of issue 3, they finally find some refuge and get a chance to finally get those arrows out of her father's back and to kind of patch him up a little. But the boy does kind of wonder what type of animal uses arrows, and later that night he does kind of put two and two together and figures out that the arrows belong to his father. So the boy attacks the father and poisons the daughter, but the father does knock him away and the little boy escapes. But the father now has to find someone to cure his daughter of poison. So he goes to an apothecary, but they get ran out of town because the apothecary believes that he has the Black Death. But luckily the father runs into a couple of nuns who are willing to help him out, but they just want him to get their wagon out of the ditch. Then we see the daughter have a nightmare about her mother looking the same as her father, but she does wake up and they do embrace each other as she is doing better. As she was doing better, the nuns tell them where they can find Joan of Arc. Not only that, this is where we also see one of the nuns explaining what the wardens are, which is what I told you guys earlier about. Now in the beginning of issue 4, we do see them go to Saint Denis or Saint Denis, and as they get there, they're right in the middle of a siege. Not only that, her father begins to start twitching. Now, we assume that it just might be the degradation finally getting to him, or should I say finally getting to his nervous system, which is causing this. So she decides to try to get into the castle by herself, but she immediately gets captured and is almost catapulted to the castle, but luckily her father comes in the nick of time to save her. Then the daughter had an idea to use one of the catapults against the attacking army, to which then drew eyes on them. And for a while they were holding their own until her father began twitching again. But that's when we see a massive soldier knock away the daughter. And as he was planning to unalive her, the father comes in and beats him to a pulp. She then tells him to stop, and that's when we see one of Joan of Arc's men come out and talk to both the daughter and father. And the daughter tells him that they traveled a long way to see Joan of Arc to see if she can heal her father. As he goes and takes them to see Joan of Arc, they chat for a little bit, with the daughter getting angry that she calls her a child, but she tells Joan of Arc that she is a fighter like her. And so as they finally ask her if she can heal her father, she takes off his mask and says that this isn't the work of God, it's the work of the devil, and they immediately and permanently kill her father. And now that we're at the end of issue 4, there's a couple of things that came to my mind when I finished reading the 2 new chapters. If Joan of Arc was actually able to resurrect people, why didn't she just do so with her father? Is there a certain time that she has to do it? Is there a certain point where the body gets too degraded and she just can't resurrect them fully? Or is it because he was just resurrected one way that she couldn't really do anything about it? But if she has that power from God himself, wouldn't that just automatically just get rid of it and just return him back to normal? And it begs another question: is the story of her resurrecting that baby true? And I do think we're going to see it throughout the series that it is not true at all. And I think that she just used that as a story to kind of solidify her rank in the army, and to also show that she is a very righteous person and that, you know, she has powers of God. So I do think that story of her resurrecting a baby is not true. But this begs another question: if, you know, if that story is not true, then how did the daughter bring back her father? And it goes back to her father being a warden. I do think that when the father met her mother, she was actually a witch, but he fell in love with her, and so they got married. He left the wardens and they just went to go live out in the countryside away from everything else. And when they had their daughter, some of that magical power transferred over to her, to which now we're probably going to see it more as, you know, later on in the issues, as she still has that spell book, that she's probably going to try to resurrect her father again, but this time needing the help of the sorcerer or the witch that we saw a couple of issues back. And now we have to talk about the mage. I do think that the mage is going to play a major part in the later issues, as in, like, I do think that the daughter, after seeing Joan of Arc take down her father for good, is going to make it her, like, goal to bring down Joan of Arc, kind of like how she did perish in the real world, you know, by the state, because I do think, if I remember correctly, that they thought that she was a witch or something. But that's it for me, guys. Let me know what you guys think about the series down in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think of the 2 new issues. And remember to like, share, subscribe, anything to help out the channel. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time.